Haiku. In 1998, an Apple executive built his very own OS called BeOS after he was fired from Apple. And it was genuinely good and blazing fast. Built for multimedia from the ground up, it featured real-time audio, smooth video, proper multitasking. Things Windows 95 was still choking on. At the same time, Apple was actually looking for a new OS. It came down to two options: BeOS or Steve Jobs' Next Step. Obviously, Apple picked Next Step, and that one decision sealed BeOS's fate. Microsoft made it worse by threatening to pull Windows licenses from any hardware maker that even thought about shipping BeOS machines. B Inc. had nowhere to go. Eventually, Palm bought them in 2001 and shut the whole thing down. The very next day, a programmer named Michael Phipps started rebuilding it from scratch as open source. Because open source code cannot be bought and killed by a corporation. That project became Haiku, named after the short, poetic error messages BeOS used to show instead of boring crash dialogues. Today, Haiku is still alive, still in beta, still run entirely by volunteers. No Netflix, no Steam, no Adobe. It boots in seconds and runs beautifully on hardware that modern Windows would choke on. ReactOS. Back in 1996, a group of developers had one idea. What if Windows was free and open source? They started something called FreeWin95, a cloned version of Windows 95, but they spent so long arguing about how to design it that they never actually built anything. So they scrapped it, regrouped, restarted in 1998 and planned the ReactOS, named as a direct reaction to Microsoft's monopoly over desktop computing. Full graphical interface and looks almost identical to Windows XP. Start menu, taskbar, file explorer. It had almost everything that Windows offered. The big idea is binary compatibility, which means take a real Windows.exe file, drop it into ReactOS and it just runs. Adobe Reader, LibreOffice, Firefox all run on it. But to build this without stealing Microsoft's code, one developer studies how Windows behaves, a completely different developer writes new code based only on that description. This process is painfully slow, and that's why after 30 years with 300 contributors and 15 million lines of code, ReactOS is still in alpha today. OS 2. There was a time when IBM and Microsoft were not enemies. They were partners. Together they built an OS called OS 2, designed to replace DOS and become the future of personal computing. It was really good. It offered proper 32-bit multitasking and rock-solid stability. Banks loved it, and ATMs ran on it for decades. While Windows 95 was crashing left and right, OS 2 machines ran for months without a single reboot. Then IBM and Microsoft had a falling out. Microsoft walked away to focus on Windows, and without that support, the app ecosystem collapsed. IBM kept it alive for business customers until 2006, then pulled the plug. However, it was not the end. In 2017, a small company called Arca Noi licensed the OS 2 code from IBM and released Arca OS, a modernized version with updated drivers, USB 3.0 support, new hardware compatibility, and a fresh installer. An OS from 1987 updated and sold in 2017, and still getting updates in 2026. It costs $139 for a personal license. The audience is mainly banks, industrial systems, and die-hard enthusiasts, running software that would cost millions to rewrite from scratch. Tail OS. Most operating systems live on your computer. Tails lives on a USB stick. It stands for the Amnesic Incognito Live System. Released in 2009 by a non-profit team and backed by the Tor project. It's built on Debian Linux with a full graphical interface. Here is how it works. Plug the USB containing Tails into any computer, boot from it, and Tails loads entirely into RAM. It neither touches the hard drive nor writes any file onto machine. When shut down, browsing history, files, passwords, everything just vanishes like it never happened. And every bit of internet traffic automatically routes through Tor. Your connection bounces through 3 separate servers around the world. First server knows where you are but not where you are going. Last server knows where you are going but not where you came from. Nobody sees the full picture. In 2013, the journalist who worked with Edward Snowden all confirmed they used Tails to communicate with him. Leaked NSA documents that same year called Tails a major threat to their surveillance mission. And combined with other privacy tools, the NSA called it catastrophic. That is the review. free, open source, and fits on an 8 gig USB stick. Not for everyday use, but it has one job, and at that job, it is unmatched. Tiny Linux. Windows 11 needs 64 gigabytes of storage just to install. Tiny Core Linux needs 16 megabytes. Not gigabytes, just megabytes. Roughly the size of 3 MP3 songs. Created by Robert Shingle Decker and released in 2009. Decker had already built damn small Linux, which was impressive at 50 megabytes, and then decided to go even further. It comes in 2 versions. The core version is command-only, no graphical interface and just 11 megabytes in size. The other version, named Tiny Core, comes with minimal graphical desktop and use slightly more space. When you boot it, the entire OS decompresses and loads directly into RAM. Hard drive becomes almost irrelevant. Everything runs from memory, and apps snap open instantly even on hardware from 2005. Minimum requirement is a processor from 1989 and 46 megabytes of RAM. Only catch is, it ships with almost nothing. No browser, no Office suite, no media player. You build it yourself by downloading extensions one by one. Feature or nightmare depending on who you are. It's free, open source, and still actively being developed. Inferno. Bell Labs is the most important research lab in computing history. Because it's the birthplace of Unix, C language, the transistor, and the laser. The same lab created Inferno OS in 1995. Inferno was built around one radical concept: everything is a file. Networks, devices, running programs, hardware, all represented as files in one unified system. It runs a full graphical interface but can also run as an application inside another OS. Inferno inside Windows. Inferno inside Linux. Same programs running identically everywhere without recompiling. In 1995, this was an extraordinary idea. Write once, run on anything. Bell Labs pitched it against Java in 1996. Same concept, portable apps that run anywhere. But Inferno made the entire OS portable, not just the apps. Runs on 1 megabyte of RAM. Designed for set-top boxes, routers, embedded devices years before any of that was mainstream. Never went mainstream. Free and open source since 2021. Still there for anyone curious enough to go looking. MorphOS. Back in 1985, a company named Amiga Computers was shipping computers with fast, elegant, and responsive operating system. For context, DOS was stuck with green text on black screen at that time. This operating system was called Amiga OS. However, in mid-90s, company behind it went bankrupt, and so does the progress for this OS. But a group of developers refused to let it die. In 1999, they started building MorphOS from scratch. Inspired by Amiga OS but rebuilt for the PowerPC processor, the chip Apple was using in their Macs at the time. When Apple ditched PowerPC for Intel in 2006, they left behind a mountain of good hardware nobody wanted anymore. Power Mac G4s, Mac Minis, eMacs, all going for almost nothing. MorphOS quietly added support for all of them. Full graphical interface, clean, minimal, and fast. Looks like a modernized version of the old Amiga desktop. And the speed is unmatched. Even on a 15-year-old Power Mac G4, it feels more responsive than modern operating systems on modern hardware sometimes do. However, it is a little expensive, €79 per machine. And it only runs on PowerPC hardware, which limits the audience. I am already planning part 2 of this video since there are many other operating systems to explain. If this video gets 10,000 likes, I will create that ASAP. Also, let me know which OS would you like to see in the part 2.